everyone, this is Rhee with aBlogtoWatch, and today we're going to take a look at a really cool watch from Serica. Serica is a Paris-based independent watch brand, and the watch that I have today in front of me is the reference 4512, which is their take on a military-style field watch. Now, this watch definitely has a number of more vintage cues that are reminiscent of old Dirty Dozen military watches, like the railroad track, the loom markers at 12 o'clock, and the style of the Arabic numerals. But of course, what we have here is a California dial, where there are Roman numerals on the top half of the watch and Arabic numerals on the bottom half. And I really love this dial. I think generally speaking, California dials are really handsome and they just have this charm about them that I really enjoy. Another thing I really like about the dial is how clean it is. There's no date, which gives the dial a really balanced feel, and there's no immediately noticeable branding. If you take a closer look, you'll see the Serica name stamped here at the bottom, but otherwise it's a very simple and clutter-free dial. And I think that really says something about Serica, because it's clear that they're not relying on branding to sell the product here, but rather that they're really confident in the quality of the watch speaking for itself. And there's really a lot that this watch offers. Let's start with some of the specs. The watch case is just under 38 millimeters wide, 37.7 to be exact, and for my 6.6 inch wrist, I think 38 millimeters really is the sweet spot for me. Lug to lug, it's just under 47 millimeters, so it wears really nicely. It measures 11.3 millimeters tall, including the boxed sapphire crystal, and the lug width is 20 millimeters wide, so you'll have no shortage of straps to swap on this watch. And it does have drilled lugs to make that process very easy. But of course, we have to talk about this Bonklip bracelet. It's very retro with its origins from the 1920s, and then it saw a couple of different iterations through the following decades. But it's certainly not a bracelet style you see very often today, and it's actually a pretty practical wearing experience. The only real downside to this bracelet is getting your wrist in and out of the loop when you're putting on the watch or taking it off, and I'll show you here. The Bonklip bracelet basically has kind of a fixed space, and it doesn't go any wider, and that kind of makes the act of getting the watch on your wrist a little tricky. Once it's on there, then the mechanism is actually pretty great, where you just pull the slack and fasten the bracelet on the other side into one of the spaces, and then it fits really well. It's really comfortable, it's really adjustable throughout the day, but the links themselves probably aren't best suited for really intense activity, which I have to say this watch is a very sporty and capable watch, as most field watches are, and it's water resistant to 200 meters, so you can take this swimming with no issues. The movement inside is a manual wind Soprod P24 movement. Earlier versions had an STP 111 movement, but both are hand winding with a screw down crown and about 2 days worth of power reserve. I know that some people don't love that this is a screw down crown on a manual wind watch, but it really doesn't bother me that much. The crown is on the larger side and it makes winding really simple. And one other cool thing is that Serica offers this watch in a destro configuration with the crown on the left hand side of the case, which is definitely not something you see offered by many brands. Overall, the Serica 4512 is really handsome, really tough, and quite affordable watch at 575 euros before tax. Now, since the time that I've had this watch in for review, Serica's actually announced a successor to the 4512, which is their reference 6190. And aesthetically speaking, they're almost indistinguishable from each other at first glance. But the main improvements are that the 6190 will be a COSC Chronometer certified watch and almost a full millimeter thinner, but the price will be 825 euros pre-tax. So that's a full 250 euro difference between the 6190 and the 4512, which is relatively significant. But regardless, both versions of the Serica are excellent interpretations of a military style field watch, and I really do think you get a lot for quite a reasonable price. If you like this video review, please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel, and thanks for watching.